What should I do when I feel like I haven't eaten enough fat in the day?
So you get to the end of the day and you're looking at your macros. The tracking tool that I tend to recommend is Chronometer because it does all the calculations for you. It's very easy to use. And so you're looking at your macros and you're like, well, shoot, I'm 10% too low in fat. Maybe you need so many grams of fat. Should I shove that fat into the end of my day or not?
I don't think so.
And I agree. I don't think so. Because, if you don't eat, so if you're already in ketosis, right, that's really the key. If you're already in ketosis and you know that your body's breaking down free fatty acids and turning them into ketones, at that point, it's okay to be a little bit too low in fat for the day. Because what's going to happen is your body will turn to your fat stores to pull the fat that it needs. You don't necessarily need to eat all the fat as dietary fat. A lot of people, or you'll even hear Jeremy say, use fat as a lever. And this is exactly what he means when he says that. So if you're really looking, once you get your body into ketosis, you're looking to drop weight, you can start backing off your fat. Now that doesn't mean necessarily eat more protein or eat more carbs. That means have a little bit of a calorie deficit. So we're talking around 500 calorie deficit a day. We really don't encourage you to go beyond that on a typical day, just because you still want to make sure that your body has enough energy and fuel to go through its autophagy processes. Autophagy. I always say that wrong every time. I look at him, I'm like, no, I'm going to say it wrong.
So there's a couple things that we're also trying to avoid. Eating for eating's sake.
Yeah.
Right? If you feel like you get to the end of the day, 6 o'clock, you've had your meal, 7 o'clock, you decide to put your information into Chronometer and you say, oh, I'm 20 grams or 15 grams of fat short of where I want to be. Don't eat just to satisfy that number. That's going to, we always recommend to leave as much time between your last meal and the time you go to bed, right? So that would just be eating to get to a certain number and disrupt that pattern. Also,
disrupting that pattern, so the closer to bed you eat, the more you can disrupt your sleep cycle. It's going to take your heart rate longer to lower through the night.
So don't eat just to eat. That's what we would say.
Yes.
And then, like Tara said, I always like to say use fat as the lever. So reducing or having a day where you don't have as much fat can help you lose more body fat. So, yeah.
Yeah. So
also, don't eat if you're not hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a great video on here that's a replay of one of the segments we did here, and it has to do with, should I worry about counting calories? And we break down why that cannot be beneficial for some people, what things you need to think about when you're counting your calories and you're tracking your food. Keeping in mind that tracking your food is a great way to overcome a plateau. Because sometimes we tend to get off track just because we aren't so focused on what we're eating. And so then we tend to grab something here and there and we just forget about it.
Good example is this weekend and the past weekend, we have been doing recipe development for a keto cupcake cookbook. And we are tasting a lot of our recipes, and we are not tracking that, but we are seeing those effects of having those little bits and pieces of cupcake to taste on the scale.
Because you would hope we would be test tasting along the way.
Right? And it's not such a bad thing that we're like, oh no, I got to stop doing this. It's just like, we're not tracking it. So
yeah, so little things can sneak in that you're not even really thinking about.